One of cinema's most infamous villains is real, and you probably had no idea. Welcome to The Lobby, your home for classic film and Hollywood history. Give me a like and a follow. His name is Herman Drenthe, a Dutch immigrant from Beerta, Holland, though he goes by the nickname Harm. He's born in 1892, but emigrates to the United States in 1910, eventually settling in West Virginia. Harm, apt name if you ask me, works a variety of jobs as everything from a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, to a grocer, to a farmer in and around the town of Clarksburg. In 1927, he marries a woman named Luella Lulu Struther after answering her Lonely Hearts classified in a local paper. For those who may not know, a Lonely Hearts ad was the type of classified ad someone would publish in the newspaper looking for anything from friendship to a romantic partner. It was like an analog Bumble. Lulu is infatuated with Drenthe, writing him truly saccharine letters where she refers to him as her, quote, Dolly Dimple Sugar Lump. Ugh. Her new man moves in with her on the farm in Quiet Dell, where her mother and her sister are already living. But Struther's mother dies relatively soon into their relationship, and it isn't long before Drenthe sees an opportunity to take control. Along with the farm, Struther also owns a grocery store nearby, which Drenthe has her sign over to him. He also has the sister sign over her funds, assuring them that he's merely handling everything on their behalf, so they don't have to worry their pretty little heads about it. Well, with his new influx of money, Drenthe starts making some upgrades to the house, namely the construction of a concrete garage. Lulu says sure, after all, he's the man of the house, and the garage is simply a place to park their car, right? But even though he's tied the knot, is flush with cash, and has a wife at home who adores him, Drenthe isn't satisfied, but he's looking for more than just love. He starts taking out his own Lonely Hearts ads. Responses come in droves. According to one biography of Drenthe, replies, quote, poured in at a rate of 10 to 20 letters per day. One of the women he winds up corresponding with is an Illinois widow named Asta Eicher, but she doesn't know him as Harm Drenthe. He's introduced himself as Cornelius Orvin Pearson. Miss Eicher has 3 children, and in June of 1931, Drenthe, as Pearson, goes to pay her and her family a visit. Well, he and Eicher decide to jet off on a trip of their own, leaving the kids in the care of the woman's neighbor, Elizabeth Abernathy. A few days later, Abernathy gets a letter from Eicher explaining that Cornelius would be by to pick up the kids, alone. With the children in tow, he gives the son, Harry, only 12 years old, a note, which he takes to the bank. It has instructions for the teller to give him all the money in his mother's account. Well, the bank has Miss Eicher's handwriting on file and feels that something is off, so they refuse the transaction. Drenthe figures it would only be a matter of time before the cops come calling, so he hightails it out of town with the children, telling the neighbors they're all going on vacation. Nobody saw them again. A few weeks later, Drenthe finds Dorothy Lemke, a 50-year-old woman in Massachusetts. He manages to get her to give him $4,000 and her belongings. She then travels to Quiet Dell, and that's the last anybody ever hears from her. Well, August of 1931 arrives, and it's been weeks since anyone has heard from Asta Eicher or her children, so the Illinois police get involved and search her house. They discover the love letters Cornelius had written to her, which had come from Clarksburg, West Virginia. Except there is no Cornelius Pearson in Clarksburg. But a local detective named Carl Southern decides to head to the post office to look into the P.O. box that the responses are being sent to, and finds that it's tied to the same address as the grocery store now owned by Drenthe. Except nobody in Quiet Dell knows him as Harm Drenthe. They know him by another name, Harry Powers. And so the police arrive at the Quiet Dell farm with a warrant to search the home, and they find a lot. There are trunks full of clothes for women and children. They also find the bank books belonging to the Eicher children, and they search the garage, where they discover more than just a car inside. There's a trap door. Down under the garage, among many other things I don't want to describe, there sits a bloody mattress and a blood-stained hammer. And Powers' wife Lulu was completely unaware. Not long after, the police track the bodies of the Eicher family to a ditch a short distance away, along with the body of Miss Lemke. The police had been led there by a 15-year-old boy Powers had paid to help him dig the makeshift graves. Powers is quickly tried for his crimes and executed by hanging on March 18, 1932 at the state prison in Moundsville, West Virginia. But that's not where the story ends, because Moundsville also happens to be the birthplace of Davis Grubb. Grubb was an author who had worked for NBC Radio during the 1940s and also published short stories on the side. Some of his stories wound up in major magazines, but in the early 1950s, Grubb got to work on a novel about a Depression-era ex-con who pretends to be a preacher so he can marry his cellmate's widow and get his hands on a $10,000 fortune stashed away in her home. His name in the book is Harry Powell, not exactly subtle. And that book becomes the source material for a new kind of movie, one that audiences are not prepared for in 1955. The role of the murderous preacher is played by a terrifying Robert Mitchum. His unsuspecting bride is played by Shelley Winters. The Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Laughton, was met with a mixed critical reception and failed at the box office upon its initial release. The negative reviews combined with its poor performance caused Laughton to give up directing for the rest of his life. This is the only film he ever made from behind the camera. But today, it's rightly revered for its brilliant blending of German expressionist cinematography with film noir atmosphere, and for giving audiences one of the most chilling performances ever captured on film. I hope you enjoyed this little true crime detour into one of my favorite films of all time. The Night of the Hunter is available on 4K Blu-ray, as well as on Tubi to stream for free. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the lobby.